You won't believe what China just did to Biden, and when I tell you, you probably won't believe it either. Chinese President Xi Jinping just sent a direct warning to President Biden in San Francisco at a meeting that was supposed to reduce tensions between China and the United States. Well, tough luck, as this only adds to the problems of the Biden administration. Problems like Iran, Israel, Palestine, Russia, Ukraine, and the list just goes on and on. Taking into consideration that the Red Sea is also in trouble, which could cause inflation and, of course, the price of gas and goods to spike here at home, hearing that another country's leader is warning ours is not welcome news. Are you ready for prices to go even higher when you visit your local Walmart or Target?
The cargo giant Maersk joined BP in halting traffic through the Red Sea in response to attacks by the Iranian-backed Yemeni militia known as the Houthis, who have hijacked and fired on several ships. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in Bahrain today, home of the U.S. Fifth Fleet, announced the formation of a 10-nation coalition to defend the Red Sea. But the Houthis vow to keep attacking ships until Israel ends its blockade of Gaza. The showdown sending oil prices up again today.
Now, I know this is one of the sharpest communities out here on YouTube. So I want to ask you guys a quick question. Do you think that this will in turn raise the prices of everything that we buy in the stores, not to mention the price of gas? Let's do it in the comments, guys. If you think that this will further drive up our expenses to levels that many households might not be able to cope with, comment a 1 down below. There's no second option, to be honest, guys, because I don't think that anybody's going to say that this is going to help bring down costs anytime soon. And while you guys do that, please take a second, drop a quick like for the video, share this video with everyone you know, and consider subscribing to the channel. More people need to stay informed out here, so I really appreciate that, guys. By the way, if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There's a link in the description down below of this video. So getting back on track here, oil prices have gained about 1% since the many attacks on cargo ships in the Red Sea. It's also caused global trade disruptions as they go through the Suez Canal that gives way to around 12% of worldwide trade.
Well, investors keeping close watch on oil prices as more companies reroute trade away from the Red Sea following attacks by Houthi militants backed by Iran. Let's bring in Inez Ferre for more on the story. Inez, we are seeing another climb higher on oil prices today.
That's right. We're looking at oil that's up more than 1% today. And BP and other companies, shipping companies, have said that they are pausing their shipments, as you spoke about, Kiko, because of Houthi rebels' attacks on ships. And they've suspended shipments around the area of the Red Sea. Now, we want to show you a map of what we're talking about, because the Red Sea connects to the Mediterranean Sea by the Suez Canal, and it's the quickest route connecting Europe and Asia. So around 9% of oil is taken through this route, and some estimates say up to 15% of shipments go through this area. And it's not just oil, it's liquefied natural gas, it's grains. Now, Goldman Sachs put out a note recently saying that they see a limited upside to oil prices because of this, because they're saying, look, if companies are rerouting, if they're going through the Horn of Africa, for example, then it's not really impacting production. It is just impacting the timeline. It is also impacting shipping costs because the route is much longer.
So it's very easy to see how this is being perceived as a 1-2 punch combo, you know? It's also very easy to see that Americans, as well as many other nations, will be affected by these price hikes, given that supply chains are once again being choked to some extent. But you might be asking, what's the United States doing? Or even better yet, what's the president of the United States doing, right? Well, many believe that he's taken a step back. He's being very cautious, and he's waiting for other countries to do more rather than taking the initiative to kind of like stir the pot, as he's worried about the 2024 presidential elections. Kind of like trying to play it safe here. No wonder people are saying that he's been very, very reserved with the approach to these problems. But do you guys remember when President Biden called China's president a dictator right after talking to him for like a few hours? He seemed much more aggressive back then. But what's changed? Well, some analysts believe that the United States is spreading itself way too thin. What do I mean? Just think about the billions of dollars in funding that they've sent, not to mention the multiple, pretty much unending supply of munitions that they've sent out to other countries. It truly looks like the United States is getting weaker as we try to stay involved with these conflicts in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. All the while, China is showing much more strength, which brings me to the warning that China sent to the Biden administration. And no, this was not through a press release or a press conference or anything like that. It's believed that Xi Jinping told President Biden personally that they were taking Taiwan, but just haven't decided on the timing just yet. He did say that their preference would be to take Taiwan peacefully rather than resorting to war. He also told Biden that the predictions that an invasion would happen in 2025 or 2027, it's wrong since they haven't decided on it yet. So it's kind of like he's saying, hey, we're going to be taking Taiwan and there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it. The idea is kind of cemented by the fact that the Chinese officials asked in advance of this summit that President Biden make a public statement saying that the U.S. will support China's goal of a peaceful unification with Taiwan and that they do not support Taiwanese independence. Wow. The White House, of course, rejected it, but still wow. Now, remember that President Biden committed, I think that this was in an interview, but he committed that if China invades Taiwan, that we should expect to have American boots on the ground protecting the independence of Taiwan. Now, I'm not really sure how he's going to be able to pull that off since many say that our country has never been weaker than it is now. Especially, like I said a second ago, we have spread ourselves way too thin. It's also worth noting that China is adding even more pressure on Taiwan lately. Just within the past year, we've read and seen that China has sent ships and planes to encircle Taiwan in an attempt to kind of gradually wear them down. Experts call it gray zone tactics, which is aimed at intimidating Taiwan without drawing in attention from its allies like United States, Japan, or even South Korea. But here's something you have to think about as well. Xi Jinping warned President Biden of taking Taiwan while they continue to buy up farmland right here at home on US soil. But heck, we can't forget that they're doing that too, right? We also have military-aged Chinese men coming through our borders without wives or children that are looking for asylum. And some Democrats want to make them part of our military. I mean, this is stuff you just can't make up and it's actually happening. Not just that, but in recent months, we've all heard that China has been trying to hack its way into our critical infrastructure, leaving behind malware that could be used if and when they decide to invade Taiwan.
The fear is that hidden malware in U.S. infrastructure, like power grids and water supplies, are meant to disrupt possible future military operations, especially those that could involve Taiwan. The New York Times quotes an official saying that Chinese hackers have what is essentially a ticking time bomb that could allow China to stall military deployments by cutting off power communications or water supplies at U.S. military bases or even beyond those bases to those of just ordinary citizens. It was just back in May that Microsoft said it detected malware associated with China in Guam, where there's a huge American base, saying that it could disrupt critical communications infrastructure between the U.S. and the Asia region during future crises.
Now, at some point, you gotta ask this question, like, how is this happening? How do they have such an upper hand compared to the United States? Is there something that's happening behind the scenes that we don't know about? And again, these are events that will affect not only our country's defenses, but our lives as a whole. If they take out our infrastructure, what happens next? But what do you guys make of all this? Make sure you share your thoughts on this and everything we talked about today down below. Before I go, I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and I'll see you on the next one.